under the stadium where the concrete veins run thick beneath 50,000 empty seats in the air. Smells like metal and electricity. The maintenance corridor stretches endless under flickering industrial lights. And I move through it without pause, boot strike in the ground and lock cadence, while the distant hum of transformers vibrates through the ribs of the structure above. You built your presence on surface noise and reflected light. I operate beneath foundations where pressure is structural and weight is constant, where every step must carry balance because the ground itself responds to imbalance with collapse. The generators throb in controlled rhythm, and I sink my breath to that mechanical pulse, accelerating without scattering, tightening articulation as tempo rises, syllables interwoven like reinforced cable under tensile load. Not decorative, not inflated, but engineered for impact and forward motion. The rhythm fractures when confined space amplifies flaws. Mind sharpens under compression, voice cutting through resonance without distortion. Each bar delivered as a sustained surge rather than segmented burst, designed for applause. Steel staircases spiral downward, an echo multiplies beneath my stride, but I don't dramatize descent. I increase velocity, adjusting pitch and pacing to the acoustics, letting the cadence roll continuously without break, as if interruption were never an option. You rehearse intensity for camera angles and curated moments. I sustain intensity through repetition, through calibrated movement that holds shape even when the atmosphere thickens and the BPM escalates past comfort. Electrical panels flicker as load increases and the entire chamber trembles in low frequency vibration, yet that tremor becomes propulsion rather than distraction, driving momentum forward in one uninterrupted stream that compounds force with every delivered phrase. No ornamental threats, no border aggression, no sentimental arc woven between lines, just relentless execution under strain, the kind that keeps breathing measured while others reach for air in fractured intervals. The deeper the corridor runs, the narrower it becomes, compressing motion into precision, and where your stance widens and destabilizes under reduced margin, my narrows and stabilizes every angle I find mid-stride without sacrificing speed. You depend on explosive pauses to reset. I eliminate resets entirely, maintaining trajectory through turbulence, reinforcing structural velocity climbs and pressure increases with each passing meter. The ceiling pipes rattle as turbines engage above, and the vibration intensifies, but instead of shouting over the roar, I integrate it, align and flow to the mechanical surge so that the rhythm feels fused to the environment rather than reacting against it. Your volume rises into chaos when acceleration peaks. My control tightens, compressing delivery in a denser articulation that carries weight without excess, force without the actual flourish. No stage confrontation, no symbolic struggle, only forward propulsion, sustained long enough to render resist when your relevant sentence feeding into sentence. The way torque feeds into rotation without fracture. The central control hub opens ahead, screens glowing in stereo blue against raw concrete walls, and I cross the threshold without spectacle because dominance isn't declared here, it's demonstrated through sustained calibration and precision under pressure. You look for recognition in elevated positions, I secure them through endurance, through the ability to keep cadence intact when others fragment, through relentless continuity that transforms speed into inevitability as the system stabilizes and the tremor settles into steady hum. I remain in motion, not celebrating the climb, not a notion arrival, just continuing the drive forward because drill at scale is not about noise, it is about structural force sustained long enough to reshape the environment it moves through. There is no course to soften the impact, no echo to romanticize it, only velocity and discipline fused into a single forward line that never breaks until the field itself adjusts. That's not spectacle, it's not spectacle, it's not spectacle. That's not spectacle, it's not spectacle. Yeah. That's not spectacle, it's not spectacle. Yeah. Floodlights. Snap on over the training ground at 4 a.m. and frost still clings to the turf, while cleats bite deep in the frozen soil and breath turns to vapor under a sky that hasn't decided if it's night or morning yet. And I'm already moving before the whistle ever blows, muscles wired, pulse calibrated, focus narrowed into a single line that stretches from the start mark to whatever breaks first. You talk about hunger in interviews, I taste iron in the cold air and keep stepping, stride lengthening with each lap as the tempo when my chest accelerates without panic, syllables stacking in rhythm with footfall, not scattered, not decorative, just aligned with impact and propulsion. The track curves, but I don't drift with it. I cut angles tighter than expected, recalculating distance in real time while your confidence thins under the weight of repetition, and every breath you waste complaining about condition becomes fuel I convert into motion. This isn't spectacle, it's sustained acceleration, no dramatic build, no sentimental arc, just pressure layered over pressure until resistance either adapts or fractures, and I adapt faster than friction can slow me. Your cadence wavers when fatigue sets in, mind sharpens, consonants snap clean, even that speed doubles articulation locked to the grid of impact, and where you stretch for theatrics I compress for efficiency, trimming excess until only velocity remains. The scoreboard flickers but I don't look at it, half of the distance goes into vibration. vibration in the ground through the subtle shift in air as I pass through the tightening of your shoulders when you realize I'm not decelerating. I'm scaling up but through tempo like incline doesn't apply. Every stride extends into the next without break, no chop phrases, no filler breaths, just continuous forward drive that refuses interruption. And when the rhythm spikes, I spike with it, lungs expanding under strain but never surrendering control. You lean on hype to sustain momentum, I lean on mechanics and repetition, on the discipline to turn emotion into inevitability. And inevitability is quieter than noise but heavier than doubt. The turf tears beneath cleats, frost scattering in the field narrows into a corridor where only speed matters. And I tread that corridor without misstep, balance and it trajectory uncompromised. Even as the BPM climbs into Athens, your form deteriorates under pressure, shoulders rising, breath clipping, timing slipping up, fraction behind the beat. And that fraction becomes a gap, and that gap becomes distance, and that distance becomes outcome. I don't need a chant hook to carry momentum, the cadence itself is the engine, laying syllables and not locking like gears, torque increasing with each delivered phrase until the entire structure hums with contained force. No borrowed tone, no decorative menace, just sharpened execution, driving through resistance, and every meter cover compounds into advantage, not flashy, not loud, just undeniable. When the whistle finally cuts through the cold air, it doesn't signal relief, it signals confirmation that the pace held, that the structure sustained, that the surge never fractured under strain. You collapse into recovery posture, recalculating excuses while I remain upright, pull steadying but never dipping into complacency, already anticipating the next acceleration before you process the last one. This isn't about narrative, it's about propulsion, not about proving something with speeches but demonstrating it through relentless continuity, sentence folding in the sentence, the way stride folds in the stride without interruption. I don't chase applause, I chase extension, pushing past thresholds you assume we're fixed, and when the tempo peaks I don't plateau, I refine, tightening delivery, compressing force, keeping the blade sharp even at full sprint. No sediment layered in, no philosophy tucked between bars, just forward motion sustained long enough to outlast doubt, outpace noise, outmaneuver hesitation. And when the field empties and frost melts under morning glare, the only evidence left is distance created through discipline, speed. Let's drill a scale, not a burst, not a gimmick, but continuous acceleration engineered to overwhelm anything standing in its path. The desert test range stretches beyond the horizon where heat distorts distance and the sun hammers, steel plating until it radiates like a furnace. I stand alone on cracked salt ground while wind drags fine dust across my boots, calibrating breath to the low hum of engines idling behind reinforced barriers. You built your aura in crowded rooms filled with approval and reflected energy. I operate where silence exposes imbalance, and the only witness is the recoil of impact traveling through empty air. Metal targets align in stagger formation across the field, and the countdown blinks in red against concrete towers. But I don't wait for spectacle, like tighten posture, align trajectory, and let cadence accelerate with the rising mechanical whine beneath my ribs. The first shockwave splits the horizon and vibration rolls across the terrain. Yet instead of reacting, I integrate, seeking articulation, the pressure wave, so that delivery rides the surge rather than fighting it, maintaining continuity even as the tempo spikes into overdrive. Your confidence thrives on controlled acoustics, mine thrives under distortion where clarity must be earned against interference, and each phrase must cut through turbulence without breaking structure. Each shimmer bends the skyline and mirages flicker across the flash, but I don't chase illusions or dramatize strain. I compress energy in a form of thrust, layering in acceleration over acceleration without pause, turning resistance into propulsion. Fuel ignites and control bursts behind, reinforced plating, and the blast radius expands, scattering dust in violent arcs, and I move through the wake without hesitation. Breath measured, voice sharpened, tempo locked, tighter as conditions intensify. No ornamental rage, no sentimental origin story, just sustained escalation. Each syllable interlocking like reinforced struts in a pressure chamber built to withstand force that would fracture untested frames. You lean on volume to simulate power, I rely on density, tightening phrasing as BPM climbs so that articulation remains surgical rather than chaotic, compressing impact into each delivered sequence without the theatrical pause. The second detonation rattles the ground, the metal fragments rain against armored surfaces, yet cadence holds continuity unbroken, forward drive uninterrupted because drill at scale demands endurance beyond spectacle. You rehearse intensity for curated moments, I sustain intensity across prolonged strain, recalibrating mid-surge, shockwave stacking, heat amplifies distortion, letting velocity compound rather than dissipate. No core execution momentum, no stage crescendo for applause, only relentless propulsion carried through escalating conditions until the environment tough shifts under repeated impact as the final sequence ignites and the sky fractures into blinding white. I don't flit or dramatize the chaos, I anchor into it, aligning breath with blast rhythm, delivery sharpened, even at peak turbulence, refusing to let structure collapse under strain. When the dust cloud expands and visibility drops to near zero, cadence remains intact, unbroken stream, pushing through static and heat distortion.
each line feeding into the next with mechanical inevitability rather than emotional surge.
You search for glory in aftermath, I focus on execution in motion, because dominance is not declared when smoke clears. It is demonstrated while pressure multiplies and conditions deteriorate, and shockwaves dissipate and silence creeps back across the range. I remain in stride, not celebrating survival, not claiming conquest, simply sustaining forward motion, because the objective was never spectacle, it was continuous force under escalating load.
That is drill without ornament, acceleration without interruption, structural power sustained long enough to redefine the terrain it moves through.
Yeah. Stadium lights, stadium lights, stadium lights, stadium lights, stadium lights. Stadium lights, cut through the smoke while the countdown hits zero, and the whole arena vibrates beneath the boots. I step forward before the echo settles, pose steady, breath sharp and vision narrowed like a scope calibrated for impact. You rehearse dominance and mirrors and captions. I built pressure and silence will still meets intention, and hesitation dissolves under acceleration. The bass rolls low, but I roll lower, stands grounded, shoulder square, tempo rising without panic, syllables firing in clean succession, carving air with precision rather than noise. You lean on projection, I lean into collision, every bar engineered for torque and forward motion, not applause. You circle loud and rehearse unity, my circle tight and practice velocity, friction sparks while paths intersect and sparks become flame when timing aligns with force. I don't posture for the cameras or manufacture tension for clicks. I compress it, contain it, release it, a measure burst that fracture comfort. Speed climate, lungs expanded, diction locked into the grid. I pivot through lanes like the surface was mapped before your doubts were born. You measure status in headlines and trending waves. I measure distance and strides gained while you recalibrate your excuses. No dramatic buildup, no ornamental threats, just forward traction and momentum multiplying with each delivered line. You swing wide and lose balance, I adjust angles mid-flight and tighten arcs until the margin disappears. Crowd pressure surges, but I don't feed on it. I redirect and channel it through cadence and control aggression and stay sharp rather than chaotic. You confuse volume for authority, I understand density. Each phrase that compact, reinforced, deliver without hesitation or decorative filler. Your narrative stretched thin under scrutiny, mind compressing the impact points that land will way to move on without pause. Tempo escalates and I escalate with it. Breath and beat synchronized like machinery tuned for endurance. You claim resilience when the spotlight is forgiven. I sustain dominance when conditions strip comfort, barefoot work, deliberate timing, exact flow slicing through space in a continuous motion that refuses interruption. No echo hooks, no sugary refrains, just sustained velocity, pushing the line forward. You stall at the first resistance, recalculating your stance while I advance through friction like it was fuel. The rhythm surges and so do I. Articulation crisp, even the speed doubles. No drag, no stumble, only acceleration. You depend on pauses for emphasis. I generate emphasis through relentless cadence and tighten breath control. Each sentence extends into the next, building pressure without release until the structure hums with contained force. You try to match intensity with exaggerated gestures. I match it with discipline and control that keeps the blade sharp. Tempo peaks, but composure holds. That's the separation. Where you unravel, I refine. Where you exaggerate, I compress. Where you hesitate, I strike through the gap. No morality election, no sentimental arc, just kinetic dominance measured in execution. I don't announce supremacy, I demonstrate it through sustained forward motion that doesn't fracture under speed. You step back as the pattern tightens, recalculating angles that never existed for you. I step forward, recalibrating pace in real time, tightening the loop, reducing distance, amplifying force. Breath high, jaw set, delivery precise even as the BPM climbs. Syllables landing with surgical weight rather than chaotic spray. You fade when endurance is tested. I amplify under strain. No gimmicks, no borrowed tone, just sharp and structure, driving through the beat with intent. You reach for the theatrics when the ground shifts. I stabilize and surge. Pressure doesn't crack me, it concentrates me. Speed doesn't blur me, it clarifies me. Every bar in line with motion, every motion in line with control. The arena hums, but I don't wait for validation. I continue advancing, sentence in a sentence, striking a strike until resistance collapses under sustained velocity. This is a noise, it's force in motion, it's pace without mercy, it's drill it full throttle.
Red light washes the rooftop, helipad while turbines scream against the night air in the city grid. But looks like a broken circuit, and I step through the rotor wind without hesitation. Coast snapping behind me, pulse synchronized to the mechanical thunder that drowns out doubt before it can form. Yo, crew checks angles and adjust posture for the lens. I calculate trajectory through crosswind and altitude shift. Every step anchored, every movement balanced against the turbulence that makes less a frame. Stumble and reach for stability, they never trade a hold. Steel door slam behind me, and the corridor compresses into a narrow channel of fluorescent glare where the echo of footsteps multiplies pressure. Yeah, I don't slow to dramatize attention, I convert it into propulsion, letting cadence drive forward in a continuous stream that refuses to fracture. You build your identity around controlled environments and curated victories. I move through unstable terrain where footing shifts and air thins, where breath must adapt instantly and hesitation costs more than pride. The elevator cables from its descent accelerates and the floor indicator ticks downward and root the succession and wide. Your rhythm drags into vertical speed. I sharpen mine, syllables interlocking of reinforced beams, low barrier, resilient and momentum. No ornamental threats, no sentimental recollection. The struggle just immediate escalation. The doors open and the underground hangar stretches wide with concrete rigs and echoing space, and I cross it in a straight line without spectacle because for emotion speaks louder than stage progression. You perform resilience when conditions are forgiving. I sustain dominance when lighting is harsh and acoustics expose every flaw. And even as the beat surges in a higher tempo, my articulation remains locked, click constant and striking with precision instead of blur. Fuel fuels mixed with cold air and the engine's idling, no vibration beneath the surface, and I ride that vibration like a current, not overpowered by it but aligned with its force amplifying rather than resisting the pressure that would otherwise derail weaker structures. Your tempo spikes and the chaos mind tightens into control, compressing energy into the rapid bursts that land with weight. To continue with the pause, no chop phrases, no theatrical silences, order for applause. It's relentless continuity that compounds impact. Security shut a slam down in the periphery, and the perimeter narrows and confinement only intensifies focus. I pivot through tight lanes with calculated angles while your stance widens and loses balance under compression. The air grows heavier as in his ends rev to the departure pitch, and I rise. A mechanical scream mirrors the BPM climb, but I don't escalate through panic. I escalate through calibration, breathe, measure, delivery, sharp and structure intact even at full throttle. You rely on dramatic pauses to regain composure, while you eliminate the need for them. Sustaining cadence across strain until the distinction becomes obvious. Endurance forged in repetition versus enthusiasm, fueled by momentary hype. Where the place like the sky above and debris lifts from the ground and violent spirals in. Why you shield your face from the chaos I step through? Revision fixed trajectory and wavering, turning instability into momentum rather than excuse. There's no lecture embedded in this movement, no philosophy tucked between bars. Only kinetic can take carry forward without breaks. Set is feeding into sentence the way acceleration feeds into altitude, building force without collapsing under its own weight. When lift finally takes hold, and the crowd rises from the platform, city lights scattering beneath like fractured constellation. I don't celebrate the ascent, I maintain velocity, knowing that sustained climb matters more than dramatic takeoff. You measure dominance by volume and spectacle, I measure it by continuity, control under pressure, by the ability to remain centered when velocity peaks and external noise intensifies. As the skyline shrinks and the horizon tilts beneath the climb, cadence remains intact. Breath steady, delivery sharpened to the last syllable, because drill at scale isn't about noise, it's about force sustained long enough to redefine the field it moves through. And when the turbines level out and altitude stabilizes, the only evidence left isn't a shouted claim or a rehearsed anthem, but distance created through discipline, speed, and relentless forward motion that never fractured once under strain. That's not performance, that's propulsion. That's propulsion. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Red light washes the rooftop, helipad while turbines scream against the night air in the city grid below flickers like a broken circuit. Then I step through the rotor wind without hesitation, coast snapping behind me, pulse synchronized to the mechanical thunder that drowns out doubt before it can form. Your crew checks angles and adjust posture for the lens. I calculate trajectory through crosswind and altitude shift. Every step anchored, every movement balanced against the turbulence that makes lesser frames stumble and reach for stability they never trained to hold. Steel doors stand behind me and the corridor compresses into a narrow channel of fluorescent glare where the echo of footsteps multiplies pressure. Yet I don't slow to dramatize the tension, I convert it into propulsion, letting cadence drive forward in a continuous stream that refuses to fracture. You built your identity around controlled environments and curated victories. I move through unstable terrain where footing shifts and air thins, where breath must adapt instantly and hesitation costs more than pride. The elevator cables hum as descent accelerates and the floor indicator ticks downward and roof the succession and wide. Your rhythm drags under vertical speed. I sharpen mine, syllables interlocking like reinforced beams, low bear and resilient under momentum. No ornamental threats, no sentimental recollection. The struggle just immediate escalation. The doors open and the underground hangar stretches wide with concrete ribs and echoing space, and I cross it in a straight line without spectacle, because forward motion speaks louder than stage aggression. You perform resilience when conditions are forgiving. I sustain dominance when lighting is harsh and acoustics expose every flaw, and even as the beat surges into higher tempo, my articulation remains locked, clip constant and striking with precision instead of blur. Fuel fumes mixed with cold air and the engine's idling, low vibration beneath the surface, and I ride that vibration like a current, not overpowered by it but aligned with its force amplifier rather than resisting the pressure that would otherwise derail weaker structures. Your tempo spikes in the chaos, mind tightens in the control, compressing energy into directed bursts that land with weight and continue without pause. No chop phrases, no theatrical silence inserted for applause.
that compounds impact. Security shut it slam down in the periphery, and the perimeter narrows your confinement only intensifies focus. I pivot through tighten lanes with calculated angles while your stance widens and loses balance under compression. The air grows heavier as engines rev to departure pitch, and that rise of mechanical screen mirrors the BPM climb. But I don't escalate through panic, I escalate through calibration. Brief measure, delivery sharp and structure intact. Even at full throttle, you rely on dramatic pauses to regain composure. I eliminate the need for them, sustaining cadence across strain until the distinction becomes obvious. Endurance, fortune, repetition versus enthusiasm, fueled by momentary hype. Quarter blades slice the sky above and debris lifts from the ground in violent spirals. And why you shield your face from the chaos, I step to it. Vision fixed trajectory and wavering, turning instability into momentum rather than excuse. There's no lecture embedded in this movement, no philosophy tucked between bars, only kinetic intent. Carry forward without break set in, speeding into sentence to wake. Acceleration feeds into altitude, building force without collapsing under its own weight.
When lift finally takes hold and the craft rises from the platform, city lights scattering beneath like fractured constellations. I don't celebrate the ascent, I maintain velocity. Knowing the sustained climb matters more than dramatic takeoff. You measure dominance by volume and spectacle. I mellow it by continuity and control under pressure. By the ability to remain centered when velocity peaks and external noise intensifies as the skyline shrinks and the horizon tilts beneath the climb. Cadence remains intact. Breath steady, delivery sharpened to the last syllable. Because drill at scale isn't about noise, it's about force. Sustained long enough to redefine the field and move through. And when the turbines level out and altitude stabilizes, the only evidence left isn't a shouted claim or rehearsed anthem, but distance created through discipline, speed, and relentless forward motion that never fractured once under strain. That's not performance, that's propulsion.
Stadium lights. Stadium lights, stadium lights, stadium lights. Cut through the smoke while the countdown hits zero and the whole arena vibrates beneath the boost. I step forward before the echo settles. Pulse steady, breath sharpened, vision narrow like a scope calibrated for impact. You rehearse dominance in mirrors and captions I built. Pressure and silence, but still meets intention, and hesitation dissolves under acceleration. The bass rolls low, but I roll lower. Stance grounded, shoulders squared, tempo rising without panic. Syllables firing in clean succession, carving air with precision. Rather than noise, you lean on projection, I lean into collision. Every bar engineered for torque and forward motion, not applause. Your circle loud and rehearsed unity, my circle tight in practice. Velocity, friction, sparks where I pass in the sector. Sparks become flame when time in aligns with force. I don't posture for the cameras or manufacture tension for clicks. I compress it, contain it, release it, and measure bursts. That fracture, comfort, speed, climbing, lungs expanding, diction locked into the grid. I pivot through lanes like the surface was mapped before your doubts were born. You measure status and headlines and trending waves. I measure distance and strides gained while you recalibrate your excuses. No dramatic buildup, no ornamental threats, just forward traction and momentum multiplying with each delivered line. You swing wide and lose balance. I adjust angles mid-flight and tighten arcs until the margin disappears. Crowd pressure surges, but I don't feed on it. I redirect it, channel it through cadence and controlled aggression that stays sharp rather than chaotic. You confuse volume for authority, I understand density. Each phrase stacked, compact, reinforced, delivered without hesitation. No decorative filler, your narrative stretched in under scrutiny. Mind compressing the impact points that land with weight and move on without pause. Tempo escalates and I escalate with it, bread and beat. Synchronized like machinery tuned for endurance. You claim resilience when the spotlight is forgiven. I sustain dominance when conditions strip comfort. Barefoot work, deliberate time and exact flow, slicing through space in a continuous motion that refuses interruption. No echo hooks, no sugary refrains, just sustained velocity pushing the line forward. You start at the first resistance, recalculating your stance while I advance through friction like it was fuel. The rhythm surges and so do I. Articulation crisp even as speed doubles. No drag, no stumble, only acceleration. You depend on pauses for emphasis. I generate emphasis through relentless cadence and tighten breath control. Each sentence extends into the next, building pressure without releasing till the structure hums with contained force. You try to match intensity with exaggerated gestures. I match it with discipline and control that keeps the blade sharp. Tempo peaks, but composure holds. That's the separation. Where you unravel, I refine. Where you exaggerate, I compress. Where you hesitate, I strike through the gap. No morality lecture, no sentimental arc, just kinetic dominance measured in execution. I don't announce supremacy, I demonstrate it through sustained forward motion that doesn't fracture under speed. You step back as the pattern tightens, recalculating angles that never existed for you. I step forward, recalibrating pace in real time, tightening the loop, reducing distance, amplifying force. Breath hot, jaw set, delivery precise, even as the BPM climbs. Syllables landing with surgical weight rather than chaotic spray. You fade when endurance is tested. I amplify under strain. No gimmicks, no tone, just sharp and structured, driving through the beat with intent. You reach for theatrics when the ground shifts. I stabilize and surge. Pressure doesn't crack
me, it concentrates me. Speed doesn't blur me, it clarifies me. Every bar aligned with motion, every motion aligned with control. The arena hums, but I don't wait for validation. I continue advancing sentence into sentence, strike into strike, until resistance collapses under sustained velocity. This isn't noise, it's force in motion. This pace without mercy, this drill at full throttle.
Deep under the stadium where the concrete veins run thick beneath 50,000 empty seats and the air smells like metal and electricity. The maintenance corridor stretches endless under flickering industrial lights, and I move through it without pause. Boots striking the ground and lock cadence while the distant hum of transformers vibrates through the ribs of the structure above. You built your presence on surface noise and reflected light. I operate beneath foundations where pressure is structural and weight is constant, where every step must carry balance because the ground itself responds to imbalance with collapse. The generators throb and control rhythm, and I sync my breath to that mechanical pulse, accelerating without scattering, tightening articulation as tempo rises. Syllables interwoven like reinforced cable under tensile load, not decorative, not inflated, but engineered for impact and forward motion. Your rhythm fractures when confined space, amplifies flaws, mind sharpens under compression. Voice cutting through resonance without distortion, each bar delivered as a sustained surge rather than a segmented burst designed for applause. Steel staircases spiral down when an echo multiplies beneath my stride, but I don't dramatize descent. I increase velocity, adjusting pitch and pace into the acousticness, letting the cadence roll continuously without break, as if interruption were never an option. You rehearse intensity for camera angles and curated moments. I sustain intensity through repetition, through calibrated movement that holds shape even when the atmosphere thickens and the BPM escalates past comfort. Electrical panels flicker as loaded traces in the entire chamber trembles in low frequency vibration. Yet that tremor becomes propulsion rather than distraction, driving momentum forward in one uninterrupted stream that compounds force with every delivered phrase. No ornamental threats, no borrowed aggression, no sentimental arc woven between lines, just relentless execution under strain. The kind that keeps breathing measure while others reach for air in fractured intervals. The deeper the corridor runs, the narrower it becomes. Compress emotion into precision, and where your stance widens and destabilizes under reduced margin, mind narrows and stabilizes every angle. Refine mid-stride without sacrificing speed. You depend on explosive pauses to reset. I eliminate resets entirely, maintaining trajectory through turbulence, reinforcing structure while velocity climbs and pressure increases with each passing meter. The ceiling pipes rattle as turbines engage above and the vibration intensifies, but instead of shouting over the roar, I integrate it. A line of flow to the mechanical surge so that the rhythm feels fused to the environment rather than reacting against it. Your volume rises into chaos when acceleration peaks. My control tightens, suppressing, delivering into dense air articulation that carries weight without excess, force without theatrical flourish. No stage comfort stage, no symbolic struggle, only forward propulsion sustained long enough to render resistant irrelevant. Sentence feeding into sentence, the wave toward feeds in a rotation without fracture. The central control hub opens ahead, screens glowing a sterile blue against raw concrete walls, and I cross the threshold without spectacle because dominance isn't declared here. It's demonstrated through sustained calibration and precision under pressure. You look for recognition in elevated positions. I secure them through endurance, through the ability to keep cadence intact when others fragment, through relentless continuity that transforms speed into inevitability. As the system stabilizes and the tremor settles in a steady hum, I remain in motion, not celebrating the climb, not announcing arrival, just continuing to drive forward because drill scale is not about noise. It is about structural force sustained long enough to reshape the environment it moves through. There is no chorus to soften the impact, no echo to romanticize it. Only velocity and discipline fuse into a single forward line that never breaks until the field itself adjusts. It's not spectacle, it's sustained force under compression. Floodlights. Floodlights. Yeah. Floodlights, floodlights, floodlights snap on over the training ground at 4 a.m. and frost still clings to the turf while cleats bite deep in the frozen soil and breath turns to vapor under a sky that hasn't decided if it's night or morning yet. And I'm already moving before the whistle of a blows. Muscles wired, post-calibrated focus narrowed into a single line that stretches from the start mark to whatever breaks first. You talk about hunger in interviews, I taste iron in the cold air and keep stepping stride lengthening with each lap as the tempo in my chest accelerates without panic. Syllables stacking in rhythm with footfall, not scattered, not decorative, just align with impact and propulsion. The track curves, but I don't drip with it. I cut angles tighter than expected, recalculating distance in real time while your confidence thins under the weight of repetition. And every breath you waste, complaining about condition becomes fuel I convert into motion. This isn't spectacle, it's sustained acceleration.
acceleration. No dramatic build, no sentimental arc, just pressure layered over pressure into resistance. Either adapts or fractures, and I can adapt faster than friction can slow me. Your cadence wavers when fatigue sets in. Mind sharpens, consonants snap clean. Even as speed doubles, articulation locked to the grid of impact. And where you stretch for theatrics, I compress for efficiency, trimming excess until only velocity remains.
The scoreboard flickers, but I don't look at it. I feel the distance closing through vibration in the ground, through the subtle shift in air as I pass through the tightening of your shoulders. When you realize I'm not decelerating, I'm scaling upward through tempo like incline doesn't apply. Every stride extends into the next without break, no chop phrases, no filler breaths, just continuous forward drive that refuses interruption. And when the rhythm spikes, I spike with it, lungs expanding under strain, but never surrendering control. You lean on hype to sustain momentum, I lean on mechanics and repetition on a discipline and turn emotion into inevitability. And inevitability is quieter than noise, but heavier than doubt. The turf tears beneath cleats, frost scattering, and the field narrows into a corridor where only speed matters. And I thread that corridor without misstep, balance center, trajectory uncompromised. Even as the BPM climbs and the air thins, your form deteriorates under pressure, shoulders rising, breath clipping time and slipping a fraction behind a beat. And that fraction becomes a gap, and that gap becomes distance, and that distance becomes outcome. I don't need a chat hook to carry momentum.
The cadence itself is the engine, layered syllables interlocking like gears, torque increasing with each delivered phrase until the entire structure hums with contained force. No borrowed tone, no decorated minutes, just sharpened execution, driving through resistance. And every meter cover compounds into advantage, not flashy, not loud, just undeniable. When the whistle finally cuts through the cold air, it doesn't signal relief, it signals confirmation that the pace held, that the structure's sustained, that the surge never fractured under strain. You collapse into recovery posture, recalculating excuses while I remain upright, pulse steady and but never dipping into complacency, already anticipating the next acceleration before you process the last one. This isn't about narrative, it's about propulsion, not about proving something with speeches, but demonstrating it through relentless continuity. Sentence folding into sentence, the way stride folds into stride without interruption. I don't chase applause, I chase extension, pushing past thresholds you assume we're fixing. When the tempo peaks, I don't plateau, I refine tightening and delivery, compressing force, keeping the blade sharp even at full sprint. No scintillating, no philosophy tucked between bars, just for emotion, sustain long enough to outlast doubt, outpace noise, outmaneuver hesitation. And when the field empties and frost melts in the morning glen, the only evidence left is distance created through discipline, speed.
That's drill at scale, not a burst, not a gimmick, for continuous acceleration, engineered to overwhelm anything standing in its